welcome to day 2 of our freezer meal assembly. We are Charla and
I'm Christy,
and we're from Freezer Meals 101. We started yesterday doing freezer meals and we did prep the day before. Yesterday we did mostly 5 ingredient or less freezer meals. And so we finished 18 recipes for a total of 64 meals. Plus we started on the other meals, so we did 72
total.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but the other meals will go in today's video. We didn't want you to have to watch for like hours and hours, so we're splitting it into the 5 ingredients or less video and today's video.
That's right. And make sure you check in the description because there'll be links for shredding cheese and prepping onions. I did videos on those the day before during our prep.
You can find the recipes for some of today's meals in the description box below. If you're looking for more freezer meal ideas, we invite you to subscribe here on YouTube to Freezer Meals 101. This chicken and a mango cream sauce has insane flavors. It is so delicious. It's a recipe that was in one of my recipe books that I'd been making for years that we've adapted to make it into a freezer meal. It's great also because the chicken's already cooked, so on the day that you make this for dinner, all you need to do is reheat this in a skillet. So by the time your pasta's done, this is ready to be done too. So you can have dinner on the table in like 15 or 20 minutes. So you're going to start by adding your cooked cubed chicken breast to the bags. So those we did on our prep day. And then you add some sliced purple onion, sliced green pepper, some garlic, Madras curry paste, and some mango chutney. See what I mean about the flavors, guys? Like, oh, this is so good. And then you add some flour and shake that all up so that you're coating the chicken and vegetables in all that goodness. And then you're going to add the liquid. So you're going to add chicken broth, mango tangerine juice, and some evaporated milk. Did I mention that we put some red pepper flakes in there? Anyway, we did. And then you're going to give that another shake to combine it. And you're going to remove all the air and seal it, freeze it. This one is also so beautiful. Like, it's got those really pretty colors. So look at how gorgeous this is. And you know when something has colors like that it's healthy and good for you. So anyway, this is chicken with mango cream sauce. You can find the recipe in the description below. This Pierogi Casserole is a completely new recipe that we're trying. In this mums group that I'm in on Facebook, the mums have been raving about how awesome this is. And at first I was like, well, you know, I'm really good at just making regular pierogies, and I have another way to make pierogies with an awesome dill sauce. And, you know, I didn't think we needed to elevate it to be a casserole. But after listening to so many people rave about this, I decided that we should try to figure out a way to make it into a freezer meal. So as we always do when we find a recipe for something that needs to be in like a casserole dish, we first make 2 of them in the casserole dish just as how the recipe calls for it. And then we try to figure out a way to make it in a bag so that it'll take less space. So we kind of experiment. And then if it works well, then the next time we can just make it straight into the bags. So we've made one for Christy and one for me in the casserole dishes, and one for Christy and one for me in the bags. So the first bit that you're seeing is us laying the frozen pierogies down in the foil container and then topping it with onion, some chopped peppers. The recipe called for ham, but we decided to do cooked bacon instead. And so we added our pre-cooked bacon and then some evaporated milk. Again, the recipe called for milk, but milk doesn't freeze all that well, so we switched it with the evaporated milk, and then a can of mushroom soup. So we've also added like salt and pepper and some cheddar cheese into those. So again, our second set, those are being made straight into bags. And when we bake them, we'll see if it works just to have it in the bag. So what we've done to make them in the bag is we've put the cheese in a separate bag and stapled that onto it so that when we go to serve it, we can dump the bag contents into a casserole dish, and then we can bake it with the cheese on top. So we've got the cheese already measured and already stapled onto those bags, so everything is completely ready to go. I'm thinking that this is going to taste kind of like baked potato-y, and it's going to be really, really good. So that's our little pierogi casserole experiment. We're moving on to the ground beef stroganoff. I can't remember a freezer meal assembly session that Christy and I have done in the last few years where we haven't made the ground beef stroganoff. It's just so good. It's like got that comfort food feel to it. Both of our families really like it. There's nobody that doesn't like it in our families, so it's just a staple. It's also really easy to make. So you're just putting in your cooked ground beef, some onion, garlic, sliced mushrooms. We always add a little more of the sliced mushrooms than my recipe calls for because we just like it. Some, I hate saying this word, Worcestershire, I don't know, like that sauce, whatever. Again, I just hate saying that word. Christy can say it better than me, but just, yeah, whatever that sauce is, that one there. And then your cream of mushroom soup, some sour cream, a bit of parsley, and pepper. That's it. And then when you cook it, you add more sour cream, and of course, you always want to serve it on egg noodles because beef stroganoff is just the best when it's on egg noodles. My friend Nikki is this really great cook, and she often shares photos of what she's made. So she shared this picture of a taco tater tot casserole, and of course, like anything tater tot casserole is just a guaranteed win in our house with the kids. So you know where my brain goes when I see something like that, right? I'm like, how could I make this into a freezer meal? Like immediately thinking, okay, there's got to be a way to make this into a freezer meal. So this is my attempt to do that, and I think it worked pretty well. So in the bags for Christie's, we did ground beef, and we tried Mexican veggie beef in my bags, and then added onion, garlic, a can of green chilies to each bag, some taco seasoning, a can of black beans that was drained and rinsed, some frozen corn, Tex-Mex cheese, tater tots, and enchilada sauce. Now, here's where it got a little bit sticky. Again, this is the first time we've made it. It's my first attempt to turn this into a freezer meal. So on the first bag, I had forgotten to put the cheese in. So I added the tater tots and everything else, and then I mixed it up, realized that I had forgotten to put the cheese in, added the cheese, mixed it up again, and really no big deal. Second bag, I remembered the cheese, so I added it before the tater tots, but that created a problem. It was created like a dam where nothing below or on top could mix because there's like a wall of cheese. So that one was super hard to mix and was really challenging. Basically, I tried a different method of mixing every time, And I think next time I do it, what I've figured out is that I'll put the cheese and in with all the other things before the tater tots, mix all of that up, then add the tater tots and give everything a mix. I think that's the best method, unless I did like half the tater tots and mixed it, and then the other half and mixed it again. Some trial and error happened with this recipe is what I'm trying to say, but the flavors are going to be there. It's got the word taco in it, and it's got the words tater tot in it, so it's a definite win for my kids. Now we're moving on to the ham and potato casserole. This is another one that's pretty kid-friendly, and it was really easy to throw together. We'd cubed the ham on our prep day, so all we had to do was add the frozen hash browns to the bags. So that's 4 cups of frozen hash browns. I'll just put the recipe in the description below so I don't have to tell you the amounts because it gets a little confusing and then you'd have to write really quickly. So we've got frozen hash browns, then some onion, our cubed ham, some sour cream, cheddar cheese, a cup of cream of chicken soup, and then just some salt and pepper. And seriously, that's it. It is super easy and fast. Then you're just gonna mix that all together. We just like to mix by squishing it rather than dirtying a bowl and mixing everything ahead of time and then putting it in the bags. We just find this saves dishes, time, all that stuff. So then you're gonna get the air out of the bags, seal them, and seriously, that's it. That recipe is done. Before we started this freezer meal session, I had defrosted my second freezer. It was actually a huge disaster. Next week, you can check back for the video on how not to defrost your freezer to see the series of unfortunate events that happened that day. But anyway, in the midst of doing that, I obviously cleaned out what was in the freezer and I found some frozen cod and it was in great shape. So I decided to add this great recipe that we often make. Usually we would make 4 meals out of this, but since we just had, the 1 bag of cod that we were using up, we just made the 1 this time. Usually we do it with tilapia, but cod or snapper works too. There's lime juice, olive oil, garlic, chili powder, brown sugar, paprika, pepper, seasoning salt, lime. Did I say lime juice already? Maybe. Anyway, lime juice and tilapia, cod, or snapper, or whatever you want. There you go. For the Sicilian pasta penne sauce, Sicilian penne pasta sauce. Oh my. Whatever you call it. You can use either browned ground Italian sausage, or you can use like those little Italian sausage meatballs that you can make out of, that you squeeze out of the casing. Either way, it's delicious. So you put in your Italian sausage, onion, mushrooms, some peppers that are chopped up. So we used yellow and red, and then zucchini, and Italian seasoning, oregano. Now here's the kind of strange ingredient, but stick with me. Trust me on this, it's delicious. And that is your curried squash soup. So normally I'll make a homemade butternut squash soup and I can freeze it, and then I'll make some extra bags of that to use in this recipe, but I didn't have any this time. So this is the first time that I used a store-bought squash soup, so I'm hoping it's as good. It's a little bit runnier than when I make my homemade squash soup, so not 100% sure, but it's gonna be delicious. And then you add some salsa and some water and it's done. So it does have more ingredients than some of our recipes, but nutritious goodness, delicious goodness, and yeah, just trust me on the butternut squash soup. Again, it's a little weird. It sounds a little weird, but it tastes great. Yeah, give that a shake, get all the air out, and slap a label on it, and you are done. Another set of meals. Hooray!
One tip I would give you if you're planning to do a huge amount of freezer meals, like we do 3 months at a time, which is obviously not for everyone, so you might want to do just a week or a month at a time. But if you're going to do this massive thing, one tip I would give you is it's so much more fun to do it with a friend. We've had an awesome time the last couple of days and been able to visit as we assemble our meals and catch up, and we play music and make it just super fun. And also having things done ahead of time, having your prep done, and you can watch our full prep video, or we also have them broken up into small like individual prep tasks. So you can watch all of those, we'll put some links below, but having your prep done just makes these assembly days just go so fast.
Yep, when everything is done, you can just go and grab it, pop it into your freezer meal, and zip it up and you're done. Something I'll mention about doing it with a friend, we're lucky enough that we live 2 doors down from each other. So what we do is when we make the 4 meals, 2 of them go into Charlotte's freezer, because we do these at her house. And then I take 2 and I put them in my cooler outside on the front step. And right now it is minus 16 degrees Celsius. It's chilly out there, so they're staying cold. It's a little different in July, but so what I'll do is when I get a few built up into the cooler, I'll pop them in my car, I run them home and lay them flat in my freezer. So by the time I do this a few times throughout the day, they're freezing throughout the day. When we do it in the summer and it's warmer, I go a little more often. I can be a little bit lazy about it in the winter because they're already starting to freeze. But if you didn't live super close to each other, you might have to find a different way to do it, or find some alternate freezer spots to do it at the house, and then do one or 2 big loads later. You would have to figure that out. But for us, it's very convenient that I live close by.
If you have questions, pop them below and we will try to answer those for you. And
if you haven't already, check out the Facebook group, Freezer Meals 101, and of course the website, freezermeals101.com. Make sure you hit subscribe and like this video.
Thanks, guys. Let's keep cooking.
First we take the chicken.
That was Christy's Julia Child impression. We were not planning to originally do this Marry Me Chicken recipe, but Christy's son asked if we were doing it and was really disappointed when we weren't. So how could I not add it in after that? Plus, with a name like Marry Me Chicken, it just seemed appropriate for February with Valentine's Day coming. And it's actually just a darn delicious recipe, so why not? In the bags, we've obviously added the chicken, and we used thighs this time. Then some garlic, thyme, red pepper flakes, basil, salt and pepper, chicken broth, heavy cream, so we used a whipped cream, sun-dried tomatoes that are chopped up, and Parmesan cheese. And then on the day that you serve it, you cook it in a skillet, and then we top it with some fresh basil and some more Parmesan cheese. You can find the recipe below in the description box. Moving right along, we've got our Southern style ground beef casserole. Excellent Tex-Mex flavors in this one. You can again find the full recipe in the description below. We added our ground beef into our bags that was already cooked from our prep day, and then our onions, again from our prep day, green pepper that's been chopped already, and then we added corn, tomato sauce. Oh no, I have to say this word again. Oh, Worcestershire, whatever that sauce is. Oh, I don't like recipes that I have to say that word for. Sorry guys. Chili powder, salt, pepper, and then we add cheese into a medium-sized bag and staple the medium-sized bag onto the main bag. That way, the day that we cook it, we can cook this in the skillet. So since the ground beef is already cooked, this is just like a reheat, so it's done very quickly. And once it's heated in the skillet, you can top it with cheese at the end. That cheese will melt really nicely. If you want to, you can add a bit of hot sauce, but that's just our family likes to, whatever. Do whatever you want. But anyway, that's it. This is Southern style ground beef casserole. This next recipe is super versatile. Now, on the surface, it might just be taco meat because it's just taco meat. However, once you have this in your freezer, you can use it to, yes, make tacos. You can also use it for taco salads, for a pasta. So if you use it for the pasta, you just cook up some noodles, stir this into it, top with some cheese, throw it in just to bake for a little bit, and really, really great pasta meal. You can also top that with some green onions, a bit of sour cream. Great pasta. Or you can top this on nachos. You start with your ground beef or your Mexican veggie beef if you want to make it vegetarian. Then you're going to add in cheddar cheese, which I know sounds a bit odd, but it melts into there and just adds flavor and texture. It's a great addition. And of course, you're going to need to add your taco seasoning. And then we also add minced onion and chili sauce. And then we add a bit of tomato sauce too. When we first started doing freezer meals, we used to always make this lazy lasagna recipe that went in the crock pot. And like in theory, it was good, but in actuality, it was dry and it just didn't quite deliver what it promised. It was always a bit of a disappointment, and so after a while, we stopped making it. Even though I don't miss that actual recipe because it just wasn't that great, I do miss the idea of having the lasagna flavors in something. So I've decided to play around the next few times we make freezer meals and find a replacement recipe for that. So next time we do freezer meals, we'll probably try a new lazy lasagna or some kind of remake of that. But this time we're trying a lasagna soup. This is the first time we've made it. And for our household, we used Italian sausage, the spicy kind. And for Christie's, we did ground beef. Then oregano, basil, garlic, red pepper flakes, pepper, bay leaves, fennel seed, nutmeg, onions, chicken broth or beef broth, cans of fire roasted tomatoes, tomato paste, and then we also added some Parmesan into bags that we stapled onto the back. We was also supposed to add ricotta into those bags, but honestly, I forgot to buy it. So the day that we serve these, we'll have to actually have bought some ricotta and add that. But it doesn't matter because the ricotta actually goes into the bowls as you serve it. So it's not required to, like, as you're making the soup in the main pot. We also didn't add the chicken or beef broth. We're going to add it on the day that we serve it because we wanted to make the bags smaller. That's something that we often do with soups, is not add the broth until the day we cook it, or not add water, those kind of things, because that way we save space in the freezer. So I'm hoping that the flavors of this lasagna soup deliver what I wish that lazy lasagna recipe had delivered all those years ago. So we shall see. Now, of course, when you serve it, you're also going to add some broken lasagna noodles. So I'm thinking like about 8 lasagna noodles per soup. This Mongolian beef recipe is a fairly new one to our freezer meal rotation. The first time we made it was our last freezer meal session, and our families just both really liked it. So it's going to be one that makes it in again and again. We're adding pre-cut beef strips to our bags. Buying them pre-cut just saves a lot of time. And because we bought the groceries on 15% off day, we saved a bit of money there. So we're transferring that to buying a more expensive pre-cut version just to save ourselves that time. Then we like to use the ginger from the squeeze tube because we find it's still got that really fresh flavor without us actually having to grate the ginger. Again, time-saving tool. And then use minced garlic from the jar. Saves tons of time, and we go through so much garlic when we do our freezer meal marathon sessions. Then we're adding soy sauce, water, brown sugar, some carrots that are cut into matchsticks. So that's something we did on our prep day. So we're able to just toss them in the bags because they're already cut. And then green onions, again, that were cut on our prep day. So this is a super easy meal. As you can see, it looks delicious and it looks beautiful in the bag. So Mongolian beef, recipe in the description below. A few weeks ago, I was making meals for my niece and her husband who just had their 4th baby, and one of the meals was a barbecue pork chops recipe. As I was making the sauce, I was like, this would be so good on meatballs. So we're giving it a shot. That's why we're only making 2 of this meal, one for our house, one for Christy's. So I think it's going to be great, but we'll have to wait and see. So you're adding the meatballs, of course. So those are just like pre-cooked, pre-done, easy meatballs. And then ketchup, that sauce, that Worcestershire sauce that I have to stop putting in recipes so that I don't have to say it anymore. Anyway, whatever that sauce is, then chili powder, paprika, brown sugar, cider vinegar, and pepper. So I think it's going to make a really amazing meatball sauce. There you have it, barbecue meatballs. So now we've hit the stage on the last day of freezer meal assembly that I always find super fun, and that is when I invent recipes with whatever ingredients we have prepped and left over. Join me in the next video where I show you the 5 meals that we made with our leftover ingredients. Thanks for watching today, guys. Click subscribe if you want to see more freezer meal ideas, and happy cooking!